Rather lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. Tottenham Hotspur have dropped points at the GTEC Community Stadium in the early kickoff against Brentford, 2-2. That means that if Arsenal win tonight, we will have a difference of 11 points between us and Tottenham on top of the table. That is exactly what we want. But the question in this video is, how do we beat West Ham? How do we go 11 points ahead of Tottenham Hotspur and all these other clubs, including Man United, including Liverpool, Chelsea, and Newcastle, who are actually doing very, very well right about now? Hit the like button for me. Let's get this video to 300 likes. Subscribe to the podcast as well. We are very, very close. We are inches away from 61,000 subscribers. And of course, in the comment section, let's have the conversation. Without Gabriel Jesus, how do we set up top? Should Gabriel Martinelli play down through the middle? Maybe, because in this video I've actually fronted him as a key player. I've actually fronted him as a player that we need to win this game. Now, first and foremost, how do they set up as West Ham United? David Moyes has done a very brilliant job ever since coming up, taking up the job last campaign. They've really done very well. He sets up in a 4-2-3-1 system with a couple of players out, but this is how he usually sets up. Fabianski in goal, Thilo Kehrer, Craig Dawson, Kurt Zouma, Alan Cresswell, a pivot of Thomas Susek and Declan Rice, Jared Bowen, Lucas Paqueta, and Benrahma, and then of course up top it's always Mikel Antonio or Lucas Kamaka. And that is how they set up in their last game before we broke up for the World Cup. They lost that game to Leicester City 2-0. I'm going to be diving into some of the most important aspects that I actually picked out of that game, their weaknesses, their key strengths, key players, and a couple of other factors as well. So starting off with their key players, they do have a couple of players that are actually out, but some of them you know include Mikel Antonio, who I think is a player that I'm really gonna miss. What he offers them, for me, they cannot get in another player. I think Lucas Kamaka has done very well ever since signing from the Italian Serie A. But for now, I think they don't have a player that actually gives them what Mikel Antonio gives them. So he's going to be out of this game as confirmed by David Moyes. Lucas Kamaka, again, is another player that I've actually brought in as a key player. And the reason as to why I've fronted both of them is because you use that 4-2-3-1 system, you need a target man. You need that kind of tall, huge, strong striker. And that is what Mikel Antonio is. And that is what Lucas Kamaka is. Those tall strikers that give them kind of an outlet, kind of a board to hit balls onto and then progress very quickly, as the likes of Jared Bowen, Lucas Paqueta, and Declan Rice arrive. So both of them being out of this game actually means that Arsenal are going to be a little bit off the hook. Maybe that's a very good suggestion. That's a very good thing for us to happen, especially that many of our defenders are just coming back. William Saliba is just coming back. Ben White is just coming back from the World Cup. Of course, the likes of Tomiyasu are also just coming back from the World Cup. So two of their key players up front are going to be missing. Another player they will miss, but is another key player, is Alan Cresswell. Of course, we know if you love Premier League football, you know the quality he has. Maybe he has been a little bit unfair that his career has actually been underrated a little bit. One of the most underrated players in the Premier League, one of the fullbacks, one of the left backs actually. I would sign maybe on any day in the Premier League. I don't want to overrate him, but he's another key player. Takes free kicks. Of course, we've seen him on multiple occasions scoring direct free kicks. The depth he gives them, the ability to come forward and bring in those quality deliveries, is actually going to be missed very much in this game. But the other thing that I would really love to see from West Ham is the performance from Declan Rice and Jared Bowen, another set of key players that you cannot undermine. Of course, Declan Rice in the Premier League is the best DM by far. Should I say that? Even when I have Thomas Partey in my team? Maybe, maybe not, but for me, Declan Rice, a player I would sign all day long. So Declan Rice, the way the defensive cover he offers to this back line is something you've got to talk about, but his ability to progress the ball is something that many people actually don't look at. Did you see him at the World Cup alongside Jude Bellingham? And I think England we're just so lucky that Calvin Phillips picked up an injury, because they wouldn't have seen Jude Bellingham and Declan Rice play in the same setup. Jarrod Bowen is another player that we have to talk about. He didn't make it to the World Cup squad, and I really don't understand what you have to do to get into Gareth Southgate's side. This campaign, of course, he's not really started off very well, and maybe that kind of, right, hindered his chances of going to the World Cup. But last campaign, absolutely magnificent for them. 25 goal involvements from around 32 appearances for West Ham. He needs to step up. He needs to level up. If they're gonna pick up anything in this game, score, create chances, he's gonna be the guy. Him and Saido Benrahma, they've got to be the guys to create the chances. So I think Jarrod Bowen is another key player to watch. And Kat Zuma, who is out, I mean, he's a pillar in that defense. Ever since signing for them from Chelsea, he's been really on the rise, doing very well, apart from kicking the cat. Apart from that, okay? The rest, he's done very well. And lastly is Fabianski, a key player. Whenever we play West Ham, Fabianski is a key player, because he puts in those very good performances against us, and he never puts those good performances against other clubs. I don't know why, but Fabianski is a player that I really like a lot, and I still regret Arsenal letting him go. So after talking about the key players, then we need to talk about the key strength of this side under David Moyes. And number one is the midfield: Rice, Sosek, and Lucas Paqueta. Now, Paqueta is a new addition, and I know a couple of West Ham fans will feel like they've not actually seen the best out of him. They've not seen the best of him. They've not seen the real Paqueta that we saw at Lyon maybe a couple of seasons ago. The Paqueta that we saw in in Brazil when they were reaching the finals of the Copa America. The Paqueta that we saw at the World Cup for Brazil. They've actually not seen him, and I think they just need to be patient. But then the other pivot of Declan Rice and Thomas Susek has been there for some time. Rice, his qualities are absolutely undisputed, but the player I like in that midfield is Thomas Susek. Actually, again, talking about underrated players in the Premier League, talking about players that just don't get the respect that they deserve, is Thomas Susek. Ability on the ball, excellent. I think he's one of those players that are very calm, and he gives them a lot of options in midfield. So those three must be very we must be very careful of them. In the last game they played against Leicester do have a pretty good midfield, and they won the game, Leicester, but they actually bossed the midfield. They had a 54% ball possession in that game. And then you have to think about the fact that Leicester do have the likes of James Maddison, they have the likes of Yuri Tillemans, they have the likes of Daniel Amate, and the likes of Soumare in midfield. So you think about Leicester, you're thinking about a quality midfield, but West Ham's midfield was actually much better on the night. Just that they didn't win the game. So that's one of the key points and one of the strengths they have as a team. Their midfield on each day is going to create absolute wonders. But the other strength they have is in the powerful wingers they do run. Benrahma and Jarrod Bowen. I've talked about Jarrod Bowen as a key player. But Said Benrahma is another player we have to talk about. His ability on the ball is absolutely magnificent. We know that. Arsenal tried to sign him from Brentford, while I think that was 1 or 2 summers ago. We failed, and he eventually ended up at at West Ham. So if you want to beat them, you've got to stop Said Benrahma. You've got to stop Jarrod Bowen, because they're wingers that create a lot of chances for them, but they're also wingers that really score a lot of goals for this West Ham side. One of the other strength you think about is the fullbacks, especially Alan Cresswell. But in this game, he's actually going to be out, so maybe that's a point for Arsenal to relax and think about something else. I don't think they will actually trouble us with Thilo Kehrer. I'm not really actually impressed with Thilo Kehrer so far. But what we know is that he is a good player, right? There is a talent in there. They played a few games where I've seen him maybe commit a couple of mistakes, maybe commit some, silly mistakes. But he's a good player. But anyway, Alan Cresswell is another strength for them. Takes direct free kicks. Is a player that really brings in quality deliveries, but he will be out of this game. And then the power of Mikel Antonio that they will be missing is another key strength of this side. But again, they won't have Antonio. They will not have Gianluca Scamacca. And maybe one thing that we have to talk about them before we go to the key weaknesses is they're a pretty hard side to beat. They're a pretty decent EPL side, and maybe a couple of occasions where on a couple of occasions people just forget the ability of teams like Leicester, WESTHAM, Brighton, Newcastle. I mean, these are pretty consolidated EPL sides. They are very good managers, they're very good players, they're very good systems, and they've been here for a period of time. So they know what it means to play Arsenal. They played Arsenal over 32 times consecutively in the Premier League. Can you believe that? They played almost every big team in the last 10 years. So they've been here, and I think that's one of the strengths they have. They do believe in themselves as a Premier League side, and in any day, on any day, in any way, it could happen for any team in the Premier League. But talking about their key differences and all key weaknesses in this instant, number one is conceding a lot of goals. I talked about that in the preview. Now, they need to work on that, and that is not my problem, but an area where Arsenal should capitalize. Without Katsuma right now, you have to think, if they've been conceding goals with Katsuma in the defense, what about without their key man in defense, Katsuma? So one of their key strengths and actually weaknesses is conceding a lot of goals, right? In the last 5 games, they've conceded over 10 goals, and they played sides that you think maybe they could have done better against. Bournemouth, clubs like Leicester City, and a couple of others. So I think they need to work on that. Just stop conceding. Even in the last game, friendly game they played against Fulham, they conceded because it went 1-1. That is something, that's a weakness Arsenal can't capitalize on. The other thing is the hardship to score. In the last 5 games, they've actually scored around 3 goals only, and that is a very, very big question. Why don't they score enough goals? Maybe the integration of Paqueta, Thilokera, and Lucas Kamaka did come a little bit too early for the side. Maybe it wasn't done very well, and maybe David Moyes has to rethink how he plays these players and how he actually uses them. I don't know, but the truth is that they don't score goals. One of the reasons why they're losing games, in their last 5 games, they have won 1 and lost 4. The problem, they don't score goals. They do concede, but they don't score on the other side. Another weakness is injuries. Cresswell, Antonio Scamacca, all those players are very key for them, and they are quite unlucky that they won't be having them unless something changes, but they won't have those 3 key players. It's going to really affect them, of course, including Katsuma as well. So 4 key players that are not going to be in the side. This is going to be kind of a watered down version of the West Ham we should be playing tonight. And then maybe the poor form that has actually created short of confidence and short of momentum. They actually don't have any rhythm. They don't have any momentum. They're going to look to build right from scratch, right? And maybe this is the perfect time for them to do that. They're one of the teams that were always praying, when do we go for the World Cup? When do we reset? It's time for them to reset, and I'm really scared they could start the recent journey in this game against Arsenal. But some of the other complicated parts of this team is that they're still integrating Paqueta, Thilokera, and a couple of new signings in the side. It has actually affected them because it has disrupted the way they set up. It has disrupted the way they line up. It has disrupted the way they play. And David Moyes now has a very, very short period of time to figure out, how do I get this thing all together? How do I get this team going again before it is actually too late? So with all that said, guys, then the question is, how do we beat West Ham United? Number one is you've got to use the wings. You've got to use Martinelli and Saka. They're going to be very, very key in this game. And the reason is their fullbacks are actually not doing very, very well. Thilokera, for me, has not done good work defensively. And the absence of Alan Cresswell means someone is going to be coming in to deputize. And for me, look, if someone is coming in to deputize, you've got to obliterate them. You've got to embarrass them. You've got to keep them busy. And Martinelli and Saka are the 2 players that actually can do that full time, full 90 minutes. So that's one of the ways we've got to beat them. Use the flanks, run in behind, run off shoulders, make the pitch as big as possible, and just make them tired. As simple as that, right? Just make them tired. But then the other way is you've got to target that spot where Katsuma is not going to be. I'm really suspecting that they will have a weak centre-back partnership. Now, this is not 100%, right? They might bring in some kind of guy that we don't even know, and he does very well. But in most cases, if you lose such a player, just like we lost Gabriel Jesus, you're thinking that it's going to be a watered down version of the player they are replacing. Okay, so that's why I think you've got to target that center back. Try to feed balls through to Eddie Nketiah, and Eddie is going to be another key player for us in this game, because if he doesn't work that center back pairing enough, we're not going to get the channels to run into. We're not going to get the channels to play the ball into. So that is another way to beat them. Way number 3 is quite a difficult one, but a couple of teams have actually done it. Don't let Jared Bowen run or take a touch in this game. It's kind of difficult, but this campaign, a couple of clubs have done it, haven't they? I don't think Jared Bowen has been that good this campaign, unless otherwise. I don't think it's really been that good. And then win every first and second ball in midfield. I've told you about their midfield, their strength, weaknesses, and their abilities on the ball. Paqueta, Rice, and Thomas Susek are players that are really quality and have ability on the ball. So you've got to win every first ball and every second ball. And then the intensity of the game must be a bit high, maybe not too high, because our players are just coming back. But do not play slow football. David Moyes is the master at that. So that is my analysis of West Ham and how we can actually beat them. They do set up in that 4-2-3-1 system that is very similar to ours, but in possession and also out of possession, the two teams are actually very dissimilar. Hit the like button, and I'll let you know. I'll let you know when I'm back, because we do have a couple of stories in the transfer world to cover as January closes in.